Hello, my name is Matthew Fowler, and this is my speech on Matthew Alexander Henson. Greatness is often measured in achievements. However, we rarely take into account the social dynamics of that particular era. Matthew Alexander Henson was an African-American explorer during the Jim Crow era and was a part of the first expedition to ever reach the North Pole. His achievements are even more notable due to the fact that they were achieved during the Jim Crow era. He was hand-selected by Robert Peary after working on ships for a majority of his life to accompany him to the North Pole. After he returned from the North Pole, he received a congressional medal and published a book in 1912 detailing his expedition. Great people do great things. Very few can do this during a time of intense prejudice and racism of the Jim Crow era, the way that Matthew Alexander Henson did. I believe that we first need to focus on the dark time that was the Jim Crow era, a period of American history where government enforced racist and segregative laws, making life a living hell for black people. The Jim Crow era also made it incredibly hard for black people to do extraordinary things due to the segregation and the common belief that white people were far superior to black people. Being that in this time Matthew Alexander Henson was hand-selected by one of the greatest American explorers of all time is no small feat, and is in fact a huge accomplishment. After his expedition to the North Pole with Robert Peary, along with the rest of Peary's crew, he received a congressional medal. I think it's important for us to understand the rarity of a black man to be noticed by the federal government in the Jim Crow era. According to the Yoakum African American History Association, during World War I, all black battalions of the Army were sent to France to fight for the French Army. While there, they received hundreds of French military medals and awards, and yet only 2 of them received a Medal of Honor. They were given these medals years after, and both of them died before they received it, and it was given to their family. To be a black person and to be recognized federally during the Jim Crow era means that you far exceeded the expectations and standards to receive said medal. Matthew Alexander Henson definitely exceeded those standards. He also published a book about his expedition titled A Negro Explorer at the North Pole. He speaks about his journey and explorations as the valet to Robert Peary. His book is an inspiration to all the black people now, as well as in 1912 when it was released. Not only was it an incredible feat to be a part of the first group to reach the North Pole, I think it is almost as incredible for an autobiography published by a black man to be sold in the US and around the rest of the world. According to Quote Sanity, Henson and his expertise on dog sled driving and engineering were relied upon heavily, making him irreplaceable to the exploration team. He's also quoted in his own book saying, "I was willing to go anywhere, do anything, and try anything to succeed," showing his dedication and hunger for exploring. In short, Matthew Alexander Henson is a remarkable person who shaped history despite the challenges held against him. Thank you very much. My name is Matthew Fowler, and this was my speech on Matthew Alexander Henson.